From the Shukla Yajurveda. Yajurveda has two branches, Shukla Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda. This is from the Shukla Yajurveda Samhita on page 56 of the book Universal Prayers. 56 at the top of the page, and the English is on page 57 at the top. It's a very famous mantra. All of you already have heard about it. Very powerful mantra. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. I worship thee, O sweet Lord of transcendental vision, O giver of prosperity to all. May I be free from the bonds of death, like a ripe fruit dropping from the tree. May I never again forget my immortal nature. Om peace. May there be peace in our hearts. May there be harmony amongst all beings. May there be peace in nature. This mantra, known as the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, is chanted when people need some help for health problems or other problems. It has to be chanted 11 times. Rudra Shiva has 11 aspects, Ekadasha. So 11 times it is chanted. A very nice hymn to chant. Okay, now we'll continue and try to conclude our study of chapter 3 today. Was in sloka number 36, chapter 3. Arjuna asked Sri Krishna why people commit mistakes. They commit mistakes and then they suffer. So why this happens? Very important question. The answer was given by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in verse number 37. Straightforward. Only one reason why people make mistakes of all kinds. 37, Sri Bhagavan Vacha. Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidhyena miha vairinam. Bhagavan says the reason is kama and krodha. They are all not two different things, they are only one thing. They are used as one noun. Esha means this. The reason why people commit mistakes is kama, krodha. They are two sides of a coin that occur together. Why do they come? Rajoguna samudbhavaha. If there is too much of rajas in our personality and not enough sattva, then rajas causes desire and anger. So we have to become more sattvic. That will come later. How to deal with the problem will come later. Mahashano mahapapma. Mahashana means it gobbles up everything. Our sense of propriety, buddhi, viveka, everything will go away when you are under the grip of kama and krodha. Mahapapma, it makes us do very sinful deeds. Enam iha vairinam vidhi. Enam means this, kama krodha. They are referred to as one. Know this. Vidhi means know. Know this. Kama krodha to be the vairi, to be the enemy. Our real enemy is Kama krodha, not other people. So that is the reason why people commit mistakes. Knowing that reason, now we can focus attention on how to overcome Kama Krodha. That's a very huge topic. It will come through the Gita, beginning from this chapter and in subsequent chapters too. Kama Krodha, how to conquer. If we conquer those two, then our 95% of our work is done. Yeah, those are the main obstacles to spiritual life, Kama Krodha. It includes greed also, Krodha, Lobha also joins there. So these three things are the main obstacles in spiritual life. And when slowly we will understand where to start, how to conquer these enemies, which are great obstacles in our spiritual life. So in the 38 and next two verses, Sri Krishna explains that those knowledge is inherent within us. Knowledge means that we are the Atman. Is there, we are the Atman. Nothing can hide that one. That is the established truth. We are that Atman. We have always been, we have never been anything else. We will never be anything else. But that knowledge is somehow hidden from us now for the present. That is the problem. This problem is fortunately temporary. The knowledge inherent within us is hidden from us. Why it is hidden? There are some theories. Why we should not know that we are the Atman? Why we are thinking we are the body and the mind, go through all the sufferings of the body and the mind? Why everybody should not have Atma Jnana? That why question has no one clear answer. The general answer is Maya, the Maya Shakti, divine power, covers the knowledge. Avarana Shakti, Vikshepa Shakti, like this, it has two aspects. Maya has two aspects. Avarana means covering something. Vikshepa means projecting something on top of that. If there is a diamond here on this desk, I should be able to see the diamond. But I cannot see it because somebody has put a sheet of paper on that one. I'm seeing the paper. I'm not seeing the diamond. I don't know that there is diamond under the paper. And not only that, on that paper, they have written a lot of drawings and pictures of so many things happen. So what I'm saying is not even the paper. I'm not even seeing the paper. I'm seeing all the pictures and drawings and whatever they have drawn, painting. That's what I'm seeing. That projecting is the projecting of the images. Covering avarana means covering the truth. Vikshepa means projecting the world on top. What I'm saying is the world. I'm seeing people, myself, other people, good people, bad people, suffering, pain, pleasure. This world, that's what I'm seeing. That's all Vikshepa. So that is the explanation. But the explanation does not solve the problem. There are other explanations to Vivarta, all those things. So how to solve the problem? That is the main question. We'll come to that. So here in verse 38, let us do 38 now. Dhumena vriyate vandihi yatha darsho malena cha yatholbena vrto garbha tatha tenedamavritam. How this knowledge is covered by ignorance is explained with three examples here. Dhuma means smoke. Vanni means fire. Just as fire is covered by smoke. Sometimes there is a fire and it is covered by a dense cloud of smoke and we only see the smoke. We don't see the fire, but fire is there. Unless there is fire, there won't be smoke. Yatha adarshaha malena avriyate. Adarsha means a mirror. Mirror is covered by a thick a layer of dust and it will not show the reflection clearly. Yatholvena garbha, just as embryo is covered by the womb. Tatha, in the same way, tena means by kama krodha. Idam avritam, idam means jnana, the self-knowledge, the knowledge that I am the self, I am the Atman, Am Brahmasmi, that is covered by kama krodha, the layer of ignorance. So that is the reason why we commit mistakes. I don't know that I am the Atman. I think I am the body mind. The moment I come to the body mind level, all kinds of desires will come, anger will come. Mind, I want this one, sense organs want that one. If that is not fulfilled, anger comes and jealousy comes and all those things will come. So solution is self-knowledge. Now we go to verse number 39. Again, the same explanation, how it is covered by, knowledge is covered by ignorance. Verse number 39. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nityavairina kamarupena kaunteya dushpurena nalena cha. Knowledge is obscured by this persistent foe of the knower, that is by craving as by an insatiable fire. Etena means kama krodha. By kama krodha, nityavairina, these are eternal enemies. Unless they are removed, we will not be free from ignorance. Avritam jnaninaha avritam kamarupena kaunteya. This enemy is the main cause is the kama. That kama is dushpura, difficult to grasp and control, uncontrollable desire. Analena, just like a fire, insatiable fire. Dushpurena analena means just like an insatiable fire which cannot be quenched. It destroys everything. In the same way, this uncontrolled kama destroys a person's buddhi, thinking power. And then that person goes down in a downward spiral and cannot get back easily, retrace the steps back easily, and reaches the rock bottom. So how to stop this downward spiral? That will be explained later in stages. Let us do verse number 40 then. So the reason is known, kama krodha. Why people commit mistakes? Kama krodha. That much is understood now. Those are the main enemies. They cover the self-knowledge. These points have been understood. Now we go to sloka number 40. Indriyani mano buddhi asyadhisthanamuchyate etair vimohayatyesha jnanamavritya dehinam. Indriyani, three things are there. In this and in next remaining verses of this third chapter, Sri Krishna is going to explain the various levels of our personality, where we can control, exercise control, that will be explained. Where we can start our effort will be explained. Indriyani, sense organs. Mainly 5 sense organs of perception, Jnanendriyas, but Karmendriyas also 10. Manaha means mind. In some places, mind is also counted as a 11th sense organ. Now it is counted as separate from the 10 sense organs. Depends upon how you look upon it. Indriyani manaha, sense organs and the mind. Mana means mind. Third one is buddhi. Buddhi is different from the mind. How is buddhi different from the mind? Buddhi is the faculty of the mind that determines right and wrong. Vivechana Shakti. There is something in our mind that tells us from within us, our inner voice, that tells us this is right, this is wrong. This is danger, this is safe. That something in us always tells us right and wrong. And that a faculty of determining right and wrong, real, unreal, that is called buddhi. In some people, that buddhi is very highly developed. When I see a situation, they can immediately grasp the situation, good or bad, what it is. When some people see other people see the same situation, they take a long time, they come to wrong conclusion. If there is something wrong, they will not see it. That kind of buddhi also is. Buddhi can be of three types: sattva, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic buddhi. We'll come to that later. So manaha, buddhi, indriyani. Three things are there. Three parts of our personality, we can call. More details are explained in the Taittiriya Upanishad. 5 layers and all those things, 3 bodies and everything. But this is a simpler explanation. Our personality consists of 3 things, visible 3 things. 4th thing is also there. Indriyani, sense organs, manaha, mind, buddhi. These are the places where kama krodha reside. Adhisthana means seat or locus. Where kama resides, where does kama occur? It occurs in the buddhi, it occurs in the mind, it occurs in the sense objects, in sense organs. Adhisthana means locus, location, where the desires and anger reside. Indriyani manaha buddhi asya means kamasya, of anger and lust. Adhishthanam, seat. Etaihi means by these 3 aspects of personality, esha dehinam mohayati, vimohayati. This kama and krodha, they delude the dehi, the indwelling spirit, jivatma, by covering the sense organs, by covering the self-knowledge, residing in sense organs, indriyani, residing in the mind, manaha, and in the buddhi. So this all analysis of the problem only. Solution has not come yet. So what is beyond these 3 things? Indriyani, we know, we are familiar with sense organs. We all have sense organs, we know that one. Mana, we are familiar. Our mind is there. Sometimes we know the mind is calm, mind is agitated, mind is peaceful, mind is there, that we know. Buddhi also we know. My discriminating faculty, what tells me right and wrong, that also I know is there. These 3 as mentioned. Is there anything else beyond these 3? The 4th one, yes, that is the main thing. That will come in the subsequent verses, 42. So let us go to verse number 41. In this chapter 42 is the key shloka. We'll spend time on that one. So what is to be done now? First step, instruction, what is to be done, is contained in 41. Important instruction. Tasmat tvam indriyanyadau niyamya bharatarshava Atmanam prajahihyenam jnana vijnana nasanam. First instruction Sri Krishna gives to Arjuna on how to control kama and krodha. Begins from here. Tasma, therefore, because this delusion happens, tvam, you are addressing all of not only Miss Arjuna, all of us are included in it. All the instructions are meant for each one of us, though they were given in the battlefield for Arjuna. Yasmatvam, therefore you, Adav, in the beginning, first step in spiritual life. Adi means beginning. In the beginning of spiritual life, first things we have to do, Indriyani Niyamya. Niyamam is control, controlling the sense organs. That is the first step and the most difficult step. Unless we do that, we can't make progress in spiritual life. If we let the sense organs go here and there and do whatever they want to do, let them do whatever they want to do, then there is no spiritual life. That is a bohemian lifestyle. They do whatever they want to enjoy this there, and then they get in trouble. We don't want that. We want spiritual life means controlling these sense organs. Sense organs, as you've seen before, as explained in the Kathopanishad, these sense organs have a natural tendency. They are made like that. Why they are like that? It is they are made like that. That's how it is, nature. You have to deal with it. These sense organs have a natural tendency to go out into the world of sense objects and seek contact with sense objects, hoping that such contact will bring pleasure. That's explained by Yama in the Kathopanishad. Paranchikani vetrana swayambhu. Tasmat parang pashyati nantaratman. Therefore, what happens? A seeker, a person, his mind sense organ go outside, even in the outside world. They know everything about what other people are doing, who is wearing what dress to Oscar, and who paid how much for that property. All those children are doing what? Everything they know about other people, about world and politics and sports and trivia, how many touchdowns somebody made, how many points somebody made in the finals NBA 1967, they can give you these statistics. Outside, the knowledge is there. Mind goes outside, seeking God. But what is happening in our minds inside, we don't know. Tasmat parang pashyati. We see the parat means outside world. Nantaratman, we don't see the self within. Why we don't see God within? Vedanta always says God is within you. You are that. Never absent. One thing that comes again and again. If so, why I'm not seeing God if God is within me? Because this is the reason. The mind and sense organs, they don't look inside. They look outside and become familiar with everything outside. So that is the problem. So we have to turn the attention of our sense organs and mind inwards. That's the first step. Tasmat indriyanyado niyamya. Niyamya is controlling the sense organs. Indriyani, adav in the beginning. Enam papmanam prajahi. Enam means this. This kama krodha, you have to control. Prajahi means control or conquer. Jnana vijnana nashanam. If the kama krodha are not controlled, they will destroy your knowledge and experience. Jnana means self-knowledge. That I am the Atman, that knowledge will not be there if I don't control sense organs and the mind. Vijnana means experiencing the self within. That all experience also will not be there. Sri Ramakrishna explains the difference between jnana, vijnana and the gospel in this way. Jnana means knowledge. Supposing somebody knows that the cow's milk or milk is a very nutritious food, and if you take it, you will become strong, your health will improve. That knowledge is called jnana. Somebody knows that and has taken milk every day and has improved his health, experienced it. He has vijnana. So knowing that I am the Atman is jnana, experiencing that I am the Atman is vijnana. Both of them will be destroyed. Jnana vijnana nashanam by kama krodha. So if you want to have knowledge and experience jnana vijnana, we must control kama krodha. First step in spiritual life. This will come again. So that is the solution. There is a very nice verse in the Viveka Chudamani. You don't have to note it. Some people studied. The verse number in Viveka Chudamani is 176. Some of you did study that with Atmagyanji. There, Shankara compares the whole world to be a forest made of sense objects. Manonama Mahavyagraha. The Mahavyagra means a great tiger. Mana, our mind is like a great tiger. It goes Vishayaranya Bhuvishu. Vishayaranya, Vishya means sense objects. Aranya means forest. Aranya Bhumi means forest. This wild tiger goes into the forest, freely roams. Tiger has no fear. It roams all over the forest and attacks whatever animal it wants to attack. Manonama Mahavyagra. Our mind is like that wild tiger. It has no control. Visharanya Bhumi Sucharati. It moves about freely. So we let our minds move about in the world without controlling it. We don't tell the mind, don't go there, don't think about it, think about this. We don't generally tell. So that uncontrolled wild tiger, Monona Mahavyagraha, Vishyaranya Bhumishu Charati, it moves about. So what we have to do, Sadhavaha Yai Mumukshavaha, those of sadhus who are desirous of liberation. Mumukshu means one who seeks liberation, desire for liberation. Ye sadhavaha mumukshavaha, those sadhus who are desirous of liberation, what they should do? Atra nagachantu, they should not go into the world of sense objects. Stay away from the sense objects. Turn off the TV, internet, computer, turn off the cell phone, and go to the shrine, puja room, open the Gita book or gospel or whatever your holy scripture. Think about God, don't think about what is happening in the politics today, election and the economy and all those things. If you let the mind wander there, it will be wandering there forever. So that is the instruction. The mind is like a wild tiger. Shankara gives that nice comparison. So here in 41, Sri Krishna gives same thing. Tasmat Adav, in the beginning of spiritual life, as the first step in spiritual life, from Indriyani Niyamya, controlling the sense organs. Enam Papmanam Jnana Vijnananashanam Prajahi. You conquer this Kama Krodha, which is a great enemy, great obstacle to spiritual life. So this instruction is given. This will come again and again throughout the Gita. One instruction to be kept in mind, followed diligently. Now we come to the very important verse in the 3rd chapter. Beside these three, we have seen these three things in our personality. Indriyani, Manaha, Buddhi. Indriya means sense organs, 5 or 10. Mind we know exists. Buddhi we know exists. Besides these three, what else is there in us, in our personality? That is mentioned here in 42. That is the Atman, that is the self. That's the main thing. We have to pay attention to that. So let us do verse number 42. Indriyani paranyahu, indriyebhyah param manaha, manasastu para buddhi, yo buddhe paratastu saha. So 4 things are there in our personality. Let us understand those 4 things. Indriyani parani ahu. The word para is very important here. I'll explain. Try to explain. Indriyani means sense organs. 5 or 10, however you count. Indriyani parani. Para means superior. Paravidya you have seen before. Para means higher or superior. Apara means lower or inferior. Indriyani parani. Indriyas are superior to what? When you say superior to something, to the rest of the body. We have so many organs in the body, like stomach and all those things, and so many parts are there in the body. Among all those parts in the body, sense organs are very powerful. They can do things. They can deal with sense objects. For example, mouth can eat the food, but stomach cannot eat the food. We have to food has to be put into the stomach for it to digest, but stomach itself cannot act anything. But it is a eating instrument, mouth, that makes it possible for the stomach to get the food. And the hands have to put the food into the mouth. Hands are very powerful. So these instruments are very powerful, more powerful than the other parts of the body. The other parts will work if these instruments work. Eyes can see, then mind can decide whether right or wrong. So eyes are powerful. So Indriyani Parani, sense organs are superior to the rest of the body. First part of the sloka. Now, Indriyabhyaha Param Manaha. Manas, mind is more powerful than the Indriya. You see the gradation there? Mind can control the Indriyas. Mind can tell the eye what to see. Mind can tell the ear what to hear. Mind can tell the hand what to touch or not to touch. The mind has the power to control the sense organs. Indriyabhyah param manaha. Mind is more powerful than the sense organs. Second statement. Now, the third part comes. Manasastu para buddhi. Buddhi is more powerful than the mind. Because it is the buddhi that controls the mind. Buddhi that tells the mind what to do, what not to do. So in the Kathopanishad, sometimes we saw there is a very nice imagery. There the human personality is compared to a chariot. There, buddhim tu sarathim vidhi. So the Sharira is a Ratha, chariot. Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi. The Atman is, the Jivatman is the Rathinam. Rathi means the traveler, passenger. Shariram Rathamevatu. The body is the Ratha, chariot. In the chariot, who is the charioteer? Buddhim tasarathim vidhi. Buddhi is the charioteer, he is the key person. Passenger is not the key person, he is simply sitting there. If the charioteer, that is the key person. He decides which way to go, how to reach the destination. Just like entering a taxi. Once you tell the taxi driver, I want to give the address, and then you sit down in the back seat. Now your job is done. If the taxi driver has to take you to the destination through the proper route. The taxi driver, it is in hands, the safety of the travel, everything depends on the taxi driver. That is the buddhi. Buddhim to sarathim. Sarathim means a charioteer. What is the more role of the mind than mana pragraha vacha? Pragraha means is the rein, bridle, that connects the charioteer's hand to the horses. It's like a long rubber band. One end of it is tied to the face of the horse. Another end is held by the charioteer in his hand. Through that, tugging that one, he gives instructions to the horses. Buddhi is the key person. Buddhi tells the mind which way to go. Turn right, turn left, go straight or stop or start. These instructions are conveyed to the mind by the buddhi. So buddhi has to know which way to go. Buddhi has to know the destination and the proper route. Key personality, key part of our mind, our personality is the buddhi. In the 18th chapter, we will study, Sri Krishna is going to explain, there are 3 kinds of buddhi. Everybody does not have sattvic buddhi. We'll come to that. So in Indriyani Paranyahu, sense organs are stronger than the rest of the body. Mind is stronger than the sense organs. Buddhi is stronger than the mind. So the buddhi where we have to focus attention. If we can keep the buddhi nice in a sattvic way, that will control the mind will control sense organs and things will move. See, where we have to put attention is on training our buddhi, making it sattvic buddhi. Buddhi can be very tamasic also. Charioteer need not be an intelligent charioteer. It can take the person to some wrong destination. So buddhi has to be very nicely tended, made sattvic. In the 18th chapter, there are 3 shlokas. Don't worry about them now. I'll just summarize them for the time being. Sloka number 30, 31, 32. There, Sri Krishna explains all people's buddhis are not sattvic always. A lot of variation, very all kinds of unmentionable activities. Now, tamasic buddhi, their buddhi is like that. They think that is the right thing to do. So we don't want tamasic buddhi. Rajasic buddhi also misunderstands what is dharma, what is adharma. It is sattvic buddhi that we have to cultivate. Our mind, our buddhi has to be made sattvic. How to make it, we'll understand. So sattvic buddhi is explained in shloka number 30 in chapter 18. That's all we want to study. Rajasic, tamasic buddhi, we don't want to worry about it now. We want to keep our buddhi sattvic. So it will direct our mind towards Atman. So here it says, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha ya veti buddhissa partha sattviki. Sattviki buddhi we have to have. It's in our hands. We can change our buddhi, make it more sattvic by self-effort. So that intellect is sattvic, which knows pravrittim nivrittim. Pravritti means action, nivritti means withdrawal from action. What to do, what not to do. Some people do that. They do wrong things which should not be done, and they fail to do errors of commission, errors of omission. Many people don't do what is required to be done, duty, and end up doing something which is should not have been done. We don't know the difference between the pravritti and nivritti, what to do, what not to do. That is one problem with Rajasic and Tamasic buddhi. Sattvic buddhi knows what is pravritti, what is nivritti. We should know what to do, what not to do. What to refrain from doing, what should be done. That's a very important part of our buddhi. Second part of Sattvic buddhi is karya karye bhaya bhaye. Karya means what is my duty now at this moment. Akarim, what is not my duty. If not something my duty, I should not do that one. If it is my duty, I must not fail to do that one. Bhaya bhaya. What is there to be afraid of? What is not to be afraid of? What you are afraid of is fear of committing sins, fear of hurting somebody unintentionally, fear of causing pain to some other being, animals or plants or nature unintentionally. We can do that one. That we have to be aware of that one. What is to be afraid of? Like that one. Bandham moksham chaya veti. What is bondage? What is liberation? What binds us in the world? What shows us the way to freedom? That we have to know. All this knowledge, if a person has, then that person's buddhi is sattvic buddhi. That sattvic buddhi is the key to liberation. Then we come back to 42. Indriyani paranyaho. 4 things are there in your personality. Sense organ. Para means, the word para is translated as superior. The superior has 3 aspects to it. First meaning of para is, it is subtle, sukshma. Sense organs are subtler than other parts of the body. Subtler means they are more powerful. Sukshmatara. One aspect of para. Second aspect of para is, it is more powerful, immense. Sense organs are more powerful than the other parts of the body. Other parts of the body, sometimes they cannot act on their own. Sense organs can act. They are more powerful. Third aspect of para means they are closer to the self, inward. The indriya, sense organs, closer than sense organs is the mind. Mind is closer to the Atman. Buddhi is closer than the mind to the Atman. Buddhi is the innermost layer. Then Atman. So can visualize like this. It's just a visualization. In the center of our personality, there is Atman, Paramatma. God is sitting there. God is sitting there. That is Vedanta. Inside. Now, next to that one is Buddhi. Next to God, outward. Outside, God is Buddhi, first layer. Next to Buddhi, outside is Manas. Next to buddhi outside is sense organs. So we have to go in this direction. Control the sense organs, control the mind, control the buddhi, and then we reach the Atman inside. Through this, when you do through this path of sense organ, mind, buddhi, we reach Atman, is the innermost part of our personality. So that is Saha. The word used is only Saha here. It does not say anything else here in sloka number 42. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhyah param manaha manasastha para buddhi buddhe parahatastu saha. Only word Saha is used. Saha means he. He is only a pronoun, not male or female. Atman has no gender. So he is there, superior to the buddhi, innermost part of our personality, center core of our personality, the Atman. Everything is built around it. Taittiriya Upanishad talks about Panchakosha, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, all those things. There are different ways of looking at it. Center of our personality, what we truly are the Atman. The other things, body, mind, sense organ, they are all added on layers. They are layers only. These layers can be transformed and eventually they will drop away, only Atman remains. When liberation comes, mind, buddhi, all those things will go away, sense organs will not be there. Atman always remains, never changes, never comes, never goes, always there. That we are truly. Other things that obscure the Atman are the buddhi, mind, indriyas, and the body, and other outside sense objects, confusing the whole world. So what is the most important part of a personality? Saha. What is that Saha? He. That is the rest of the Vedanta. We'll study that in detail in the remaining chapters. Now, that Saha, that Atman is ever pure. Buddhi, manas, sense organs are not always pure. They can have impurities. What are the impurities of the mind? Kama, Krodha, etc. We know that one. But no Kama, Krodha applies to the Atman. Buddhi also can be impure. Tamasic buddhi, which tells the opposite. What is dharma says is adharma. Some people exactly do the opposite of what is required to be done. There's a tamasic buddhi. So buddhi can be afflicted with impurity. But not Atman. Atman is the only thing that always remains always absolutely pure, immaculate, untouchable, absolutely pure, always. Not subject to any impurity. Immaculate, Atman. That is what we truly are. The great positive message of Vedanta are, no matter what we are going through in life right now, pain or pleasure or whatever problem we are having, no matter that, Vedanta says, you are that Atman. You have always been that, you are that, you will realize it, and you are that Atman, ever pure, Satchidananda, absolute joy and bliss that nothing can touch or diminish. You are that. Tvamasi. That is the one thing that we have to hold on to in Vedanta study. That I am that, I want to experience it. I want to experience it, not simply knowing it by studying Gita or Upanishad. I want to know my true nature is Atman. Whatever it takes for me to do that one, I will do. If you have to control sense organs, I will control sense organs. That is the determination we should have. Dhrada buddhi we should have. Then that is self-effort. 5%. 95% is God's grace. No, we cannot achieve Atman by our effort. That's not possible. Atman is not something to be achieved by our effort. Our effort only is limited, brings only finite results. What makes it for us to realize Atman is the God's grace, 95%. To get that 95%, you have to invest 5% first. See, if I want to come to your home, I must take the initiative to close my door and start getting into the car and start driving. Otherwise, I'll be staying in my home. So that first step only I have to do. God is waiting for that. Swami Turiyananda said in one of his letters, there's a nice collection of letters, spiritual treasures, some of you know that one. In one letter, he wrote this one. He said, If you take one step towards God, God will take 10 steps towards you. This is from my experience. He wrote in that letter. He has experienced it. He didn't write theory. Swami Turiyananda experienced that if you take one step towards God, He will take 10 steps, sometimes 40 steps towards you. Bible also says the same thing. So it is the first step that we have, that is our responsibility. We have to initiate this movement towards liberation. Otherwise, if I'm very happy with the world, then God will be watching. So that is the first step we have to do. Show some interest in God realization, knowing the truth through our personality. That first step we have to take. Sri Ramakrishna explains this in the gospel in this way. A mother is cooking, doing household duties, and she has a baby, child, toddler, and she has given a lot of toys to the toddler to play with, teddy bears and all those things. So the child is playing happily, and the mother is watching. As long as child is happily playing with the toys, the mother is doing her work. But when the child becomes tired of this play, throws away all the toys, and then cries only for mother, Ma, I want only you, screams at the top of the voice, mother will drop whatever she's doing in the kitchen, comes and holds the baby and comforts it and feeds it. So God has given us all kinds of toys. The toys of fame and the comfort and the luxury and the sense objects are all the toys. All sense objects are toys. Family, children, grandchildren, property, money, house, job, fame, all these are toys. As long as we're happy playing with them, God is watching. But when you say, this is not what I don't want, I'm tired of this play. I don't want it anymore. I want only God. When I take that first step, determination, He will do, God, mother will do whatever she's doing, comes and takes us up and gives us liberation. So first step we have to take. Where do we take that first step? By controlling the sense organs. That's where we start on the outermost point. That came in the 40th verse. The shloka number 40. Indriyani. And then it'll come in the next verse. Tasmatram indriyanyado yamya bharatarshava atmanam prajahihyenam. That is 41. First step we have to take in spiritual life. Throw away the toys. I don't want any more fame and family and all this job and property and travel and entertainment. I'm tired of all these things. I want you only, mother. Oh, mother, I want you only. Please come. Give me relief. Premeka bindam charadagga chitte vishancha chittam kuruna sushantam. We should pray like this. That famous song from Abhidananda's composition, Prakritim Paramam, there this line was. With a drop of your ocean of compassion, Premeka bindam, your bindu means a drop of your ocean of compassion, your ocean of mercy. Chiradagda chitte, chitta means our mind is burnt for a long time in this world of suffering, going through this and that experience and failure and tragedy and disease and all of this I've gone through. I'm tired of this. Make my mind calm and peaceful. Give me some relief, oh mother. Like this, you have to pray. First step in spiritual life. If you pray and control the sense organs, that is the first step you have to take. That's where we have to take. Then she will come running towards us. 10 steps, 20 steps towards us, she will come running. So the instruction that Sri Krishna gives here in shloka number 41, instruction part. Tasmatvam indriya nyadau nyamya bharatarshava. First step is to control sense organs. That came in earlier shlokas, will come later also. Now, for example, shloka number 58 in chapter 2. You remember 58, that Kurma tortoise example. With it, just like a tortoise withdraws its sense limbs into the shell, a wise person must withdraw all the sense organs into the self when all sense objects are tempting outside. So many things in the television, commercial, buy this, buy that, watch this, do that, so many things. No, I don't want any of that. I want self only. I want mother only. Go inwards. Tasmat to Indriyanyado Niyamya, beginning, first step in spiritual life. Enam Papmanam Jnana Prajahi. Conquer this desire and anger. They come together. They'll destroy the self. Atma Jnana Vijnana Nashana. That is the instruction. So now we conclude this verse number 42. Para means the superior, more powerful, and inwards closer to the self. Innermost part of this personality is the self. Ahu means they said. They means the wise people, Pandita. Panditaha Ahu. Ahu means they said. Now we go to the last verse. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanamatmana jahi shatram mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. Same instruction, control the desires. If you want to summarize this part of the third chapter, only 3 words, control the desires. So that is repeated here. Verse number 43. Evam buddhe param buddha. Buddhe param, beyond the buddhi, more powerful than the buddhi, is the Atman. Buddha, knowing that Atman which is beyond the buddhi. Up to buddhi you are aware. I am aware of the sense organ, I am aware of the mind, I am aware of the buddhi. But beyond that is the Atman. Buddha, knowing that there is Atman, I am that Atman. Not that there is Atman, I am that Atman. That we have to know theoretically first by hearing Sravanam with Shraddha in the words of the teacher and the scripture. So we have to start having a hypothesis. Atman is there, I am that Atman. Starting point. Then the quest begins. Evam buddhe param buddhva atmanam atmana samstabhya. Your Atman has different meanings as we saw before. Controlling one part of the mind by a superior part of the mind. Controlling mind by the buddhi. Samstabhya means controlling. The buddhi must tell the mind, don't let the sense organs do this. The mind tells the sense organs, buddhi guides the mind. So buddhi is where you have to make our buddhi sattvic. How to make the buddhi sattvic? Lot of different instructions are there. Sri Ramakrishna has given holy company, study of scriptures, and telling the truth, doing our duty as worship. All those things are various ways to make the mind, make the buddhi sattvic, staying away from unhelpful scenes, sounds, and objects and experiences. Those things are all various ways we know to control the buddhi, make it more sattvic. If you make the buddhi sattvic, much of our work is done. Sattvic buddhi will guide the mind properly. That mind will control the sense organs, and then our journey to the self begins. Jahi Shatram Mahabaho Kamarupam Durasadam. Final instruction, repetition. Repetition is given in the Gita and the scriptures for emphasis. Mahabaho Arjuna Kamarupam Durasadam Shatrum Jahi. Jahi means conquer. Conquer the great enemy. Shatru. Shatrum Durasadam, difficult to conquer that. We can control anything, but we can't control desire. When the desire comes, it just comes like a huge hurricane and knocks out our buddhi and makes us do unmentionable things. It comes with so much vega. Kama krodhat bhavam vegam sayukta sasukhina shaknoti heva yasodam. There is another shloka that came earlier. That person who can conquer the onslaught of Kama Krodha even in this life, before the body falls, praksharira vimokshanat, sayukta sasukhi naraha, such a person becomes a happy person. We have to be able to control the onslaught of Kama, especially Krodha. Krodha comes in a second, does not give advance notice when anger comes. When Kama comes, at least we know something, temptation is there, I can stay away from it. When Krodha comes, it just comes in a second without any notice, and then you're angry. Once you're angry, we don't know what we are doing, right or wrong, what I'm saying, what I'm doing. Everything will be forgotten and we go downwards. So it has to be controlled. So that is the instruction in this chapter 3, very interesting chapter. Now, I want you to do one thing. You see, in the Chicago Gita study class, which we studied for a number of years, twice we studied Gita, Katha, Upanishad, all those things. After at the end of every chapter, Dr. Sudha Gupta used to summarize the chapter. Should make a 1 or 2 page summary, print it out, important points, should give a presentation to the class, answer questions, and she made all those summaries into a book. Summaries of important points of all the 18 chapters when the Gita study was finished, added illustrations and other things. And so that way, after at the end of every chapter, you can all do your own summaries. Point from beginning of chapter to end of chapter. What are the important shlokas that have made impression on you, which you think are very important for our spiritual life? You have to identify the shlokas. It can be different from person to person. Some person, this shloka may appear very important, some other may appear important, but we have to make a summary in your mind before we begin the second chapter. And next time we will begin the chapter number 4. In this third chapter, we studied the concept of yajna, cosmic yajna, how everything is universe is related, what people do affects nature, what happens in nature affects animals and plants, and there is a whole eco cycle. Sun makes rain possible, rain makes food possible, food makes animals and plants to live. Like this cycle, we should not break. That's it doesn't explain the cosmic cycle, cosmic yajna. Now in the fourth chapter, the same yajna is happening within our body every moment. Not at the global cosmic level, but at the microcosmic level, every moment yajna is happening in our bodies and minds. Very interesting chapter, topic will come in chapter 4. Everything that we are doing now can be seen as an act of yajna happening within the personality, including eating, breathing, everything. That topic will come in the fourth chapter. I will study that one beginning from next time. If you have any questions, you can ask me now.
Maharaj, the image of the tiger in the Viveka Chudamani, it's easier when the tiger is outside roaming in the forest, but it's almost like we are riding the tiger like Thakur talks in gospel.
You can't get up. If you get up, it will gobble you. Yeah, our mind is the tiger. Manonama Mahavyagraha Vishyaranyeshu Vishyaranye Bhumisha Charati Sankara says. Mind itself is a tiger. And you are riding on that one. If you stay on it, problem. Get off it, problem. What you do? But there is a way out. A way out is a prayer to God. Pray for knowledge and purity, devotion. Result will come. If you have a sincere longing for knowledge of God, sincere longing for devotion, that will come. Whatever we will long for very sincerely, with great sincerity, that will come. It's called Vyakulata. Sri Ramakrishna calls it. It's not a mild, oh, I want to realize God sometime, not like that. That is the main thing. Without it, my life is going to be a waste. So many years have already gone. I don't want to waste even one day without doing something which will take me closer to God. Let me do something today. It's very important for me to know God in this life. Not many days are there. Day by day, days are ticking away, going away. Clock is running. So I want to know that sincerity, urgency, if you pray to God with tears in our eyes, as Sri Ramakrishna says, result will come.
Swamiji, I have a question, Swamiji. This is Pradeep Saha from Raleigh.
Yes, sir.
So it seems from your discussion today that buddhi or intellect is very, very important. Intellect is very, very important.
Yeah. Yes.
In our intellect, we can say that we do not want any bad things,
Yeah.
kama, krodha, something, like that, lobha, moha. Then we have a chance. I mean, our intellect must be, it is not that from controlling, what I'm trying to understand is which direction we should go. I think probably intellect is the most important thing. If we keep our intellect in control, that means in a good way, Shaktic way, then everything should follow.
Intellect will guide the mind properly, the right direction.
And then that will guide the sense organ.
And mind will control sense organ.
Right.
So Satviki Buddhi, Shloka number 30 in chapter 18.
Right.
We should know what is right, what is wrong. That sense must, right or wrong must be very clearly understood.
But that is, of course, we are taught, at least in Indian context, we were taught from the childhood by our parents what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. In general, we were taught.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Swamiji, can I ask you one thing? Sometimes buddhi, satviki buddhi, and some people when we talk in samsara, the buddhi brishta, or momentarily somebody's buddhi goes astray and then again becomes sattvic.
It goes back and forth.
It is very serious.
Now we have to be watchful and bring it back. When it does something wrong, no, not that way, please come back. This is sattvic buddhi. Constant effort. It happens. It's not a straightforward one-way direction.
Not a continuous, but always sattvic, but occasionally
continuous vigilance.
Say,
Continuous vigilance. If you forget.
Swamiji Usha, it's not a question from your Gita talk today, but related. Swami Ranganathananda ji, his book on the frontier. I'm sure you read that book, The Frontier. He says there that, one should grow as much in ego as much one can, and then renounce it.
Yeah.
So would you tell me something? I mean, how would that work? I mean, we always say no ego, but he says develop as much ego as possible and then renounce it. So please give me some idea.
This is for some people. Swami Vivekananda had this conversation. So one person went to Swami Vivekananda and told him, I want to realize God. You know what Swamiji said? Swamiji asked him, can you tell a lie? Swamiji asked him, can you tell a lie? That means that person didn't have any strength in personality, could not do anything. First, cultivate your abilities to do something. Then you can give it up. You have to gain something before you give up. If you don't have anything, what will you give up? This one of the personal part I can tell. Many years ago, I went to Portland, Oregon to be with Swami Asheshanji Maharaj, Holy Mother disciple. And I was in the ashram and Swamiji got a phone call from somebody. And I heard only what Swamiji said. I didn't know what other man was saying. So that man, it seems, wanted to join the ashrama. Some person called Swamiji, said, I want to join the ashrama. And Swamiji asked him this question, do you have a job? I don't know what that person said. Swamiji said, first you must get a job. Swamiji told him, first get a job. Then Swamiji told him, hold on to the same job for 2 years. You have to hold on to the same job, prove that you can work in a work environment, in workplace with other people, adjusting to their needs and requirements. You can go the same jobs given to you, can do. Prove that for 2 years. In the meantime, keep coming to the classes, then I will decide whether you can join or not. So you must gain something. Then only you can give up. What can a beggar renounce? So you have to be strong personality. Then things
this is what I understood, but I want to make sure that, that because we have to have something to give up. If you don't have that, then what to give up? Thank you, Swami. Thank you. Be clear.
So Swamiji, you mentioned about control the desires. This is Devashish. So it has different kind of connotation, different kind of meanings.
Right.
Desire to see God,
Hmm.
but let's say the desire to give up all these bad things, of course, to be there. So the question is, when you are in certain kind of life, let's say you're a teacher or you're a researcher,
Yeah.
your desire is to succeed.
Yes.
Or to publish more,
Yeah.
to establish yourself more.
Yes.
So how do you what do you exactly mean when you say
Those are requirements, duty we all have to do. If you're an academic person, you have to write and publish and do research. It's a requirement. You're required to do that one. And do it to the extent necessary. Do it well and succeed in it. Prove that you can do it. Then you realize this is only a part of the life. This is not my end of life. My job is only a part for some time to support my family. My real goal is God realization. Do that well and move on to the next phase of your life. We have to do our work very well, successfully. Whether you're a clerk or an engineer or a doctor or a professor, you have to do that job very nicely, successfully, succeed in that one. You shouldn't be a failure and then come to Vedanta. We should succeed in life. But no, it is temporary. This success is not my final goal of life. It's only for now. I've done it well, finished it, move on to my spiritual life like that. We have succeeded in what we do. There is the desire, what can be good or bad desires. In the 7th chapter, sloka number 11, Sri Krishna says, first of all, give up bad desires. Dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. Funny desire comes, at first ask a question, what kind of desire it is? If I fulfill this, what will happen? How much happiness I will get? What is the price I have to pay? What suffering it will bring? Is it worthwhile fulfilling? If it's a bad desire, immediately give it up. Like profiting from somebody else's problem like that we should not even entertain. That give it up right away. If some in-between kind of desire, then you say, is it really worthwhile fulfilling it? How much happiness will I get? Why should I do this one? Is it really necessary? Sometimes you have to substitute one desire in place of another desire. Supposing you feel like watching a movie, then instead of watching some all kind of bad kind of movies, watch a Mahabharata movie, Ramayana movie, some other a spiritual kind of movie. You watch the movie, listen to music, devotional music, so you can fulfill desire in a different way. You don't have to suppress the desire, but give it a positive turn and fulfill the desire in a better way. Those things are available.
But for example, desire to help others, is it better if you can help more? But sometimes you have to control because you're in a family and there are some other issues that other people can object.
Do as much as possible, but know that helping others is not the goal of life. Swamiji's very important article I mentioned. We help ourselves, not the world. Topic in chapter in Karma Yoga. Why do we help others? Not to improve a person's life, but for me to practice detachment, or to me to give up attachment to my property. So know why you are helping. Not because you improve the world. The world has been improved very much. So many people have been helping the world for centuries. We are not the first people. Should I be in a very good place by now? World will stay as it is. Swamiji said world is like a dog's curly tail. So many thousands of reformers and sages have helped the world, still the same. So what is the purpose of helping? For me to realize my spiritual realization, for me to become unselfish. Helping others means becoming unattached and unselfish. That's the purpose of helping. And that also has limits. Sri Ramakrishna said to Shambhu Malli, when God comes and asks you, what do you want? You say you want hospitals and dispensaries.
Right.
Helping others is okay, but it's only a means. It's not the goal of life. Do as much as possible.
Thank you, Pranam Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Swamiji, just wanted to share the glory of Ramakrishna Mutt and a sitting Swamiji right now. This is in Chennai. That Swamiji, sitting Swamiji, 2 months back caught COVID and he was hospitalized. And it seems in Chennai, they don't give a treatment. They let you get the fever. They make it so high so that it can kill the virus by itself. And the person goes into subconscious state. In that subconscious state, this Swamiji saw Ramakrishna Swamiji smiling and giving him abhayam, like saying like this and all that. He was in deep subconscious state. So then after that he came out. So then when he came back to the ashramam, he said, now I am happy. I know I'm following the right path. So when my end comes, I know who I will see. I have experienced death and I came back. And Ramakrishna Swami actually came and blessed me and gave abhayam. So I thought it's a glory of the Ramakrishna mission and how the Swamijis have deep faith, and Swami exists even now, where he protects people who take shelter, Sharanagati in him. So I just thought, since all of us are learning through Ramakrishna mission, I thought I'll just share. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's the truth. Thank you.
Swamiji, the shloka that you mentioned about Preme Eke Vidvam, where is that shloka from, Swamiji?
Which shloka?
For the Oh Mother shloka, you mentioned Preme Eke Vidvam.
Oh, that's Prakritim Paramam.
Yeah, Prakritim Paramam.
Swami Vedananda, yes. We song in some center, they sing in the evening arati. Prakritim Paramam
They sing that in Visakhapatnam also. I've grown up.
Yeah, it's in most of the centers.
Yeah,
I've grown up listening to that. Yes.
Oh, Swami, just go.
Okay, closing prayer.
Yeah, namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskar, Swamiji. Namaskar. Thank you.
Let us say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Stay happy, stay well, and let us see next week, God willing. And stay well, happy. Healthy.